Lil Wayne sued the man who raised him. $51 million. Not a stranger, not some random label. The man he called Daddy. The man who put a chain around his neck when he was still a kid and told him, "You're my son now." That is where this story starts, because this is not a rap story. This is a story about what happens when you pour 20 years of your life, your talent, and your loyalty into building somebody else's empire. And then you look up one day and realize you don't own a single brick of it. Nothing. Welcome back to Street Smart Business. Today we're going to be breaking down Cash Money versus Lil Wayne. The money, the betrayal, and the one lesson that can save your entire career if you are actually paying attention. Let's go back. Dwayne Carter, New Orleans. He's a kid, 11, 12 years old, leaving raps on an answering machine for a man named Brian Williams. You know him as Birdman. You know him as Baby. Birdman signs him, puts him on. Wayne becomes the youngest member of the Hot Boys. And then he becomes something bigger than all of them. He becomes the face of Cash Money Records. And for 20 years, Lil Wayne carried the whole label on his back. Album after album, mixtape after mixtape. Back when mixtapes were free and he was giving away music that was better than what everybody else was selling. He called himself the best rapper alive. And for a long stretch, nobody in the game could argue with him. And understand, the bond with Birdman was real. This was not a business handshake. Wayne called that man his father. They kissed on the cheek in front of the whole world. People made their jokes, but Wayne didn't care. Because to him, he was family. Blood without the blood. He would have run through a brick wall for Birdman and never ask why. Hold on to that, because the deeper the love, the deeper the cut. Now, watch what Wayne builds. In 2005, he starts his own label inside Cash Money, Young Money, and a few years later, he signs a kid from Toronto that nobody in America was checking for. A light-skinned actor from a Canadian teen show. His name was Drake. Then he signs a woman out of Queens, spitting harder than most of the men in the game, Nicki Minaj. Stop and really think about that. Lil Wayne, off his own ear, off his own instinct, signed two of the biggest artists of an entire generation. Drake alone would go on to break records that had stood since the Beatles. Nicki would kick the door down for every woman in the rap game after her. And billions of dollars in music, in touring, streaming, and publishing all started flowing up. Up through Young Money, up through Cash Money, up into the house that Birdman owned. Wayne was the engine. He was the talent, the scout, and the brand, all in one body. He was making everybody around him rich. So here's the question that quietly starts this whole war. If you are the man building the empire, why do you not own any of it? Here is where it breaks. Wayne's record, the Carter 4 or 5, his masterpiece, I don't remember. The album his fans had been begging for. It is done, finished. And then it just sits there on a shelf for years. Let that sink in. For years. The biggest star on a label cannot release his own album. He is standing there begging to put out his own art, and he cannot because he doesn't control it. Cash Money controlled the masters. Cash Money controlled the release date. Wayne made the music, but Wayne did not own the music. And the fans knew it. Free Weezy became a movement. His own people out here begging a company to let their favorite artist speak. And when Wayne finally sits down and looks at the real numbers, the advances, the Drake money, the Nicki money, 20 years of work, it doesn't add up. The empire is worth a fortune, and the man who built it is fighting just to get what he is owed. So in 2015, Lil Wayne does the unthinkable. He sues Birdman, he sues Cash Money, $51 million. The son takes the father to court. Sit with the pain of that. This is the man he loved, the man he called daddy on records, in interviews and everywhere. And he has to stand across a courtroom from him and say, "You did not pay me what I was worth, because when the money got big enough, love was not the contract." Read this. Wayne gave that man 20 years on a bond, on a feeling, on we are family. And when it was time to collect, the feeling does not hold up in a courtroom. Paper holds up in a courtroom. And here's the part that hurts. The people who love you the most are exactly the same people you should put it in writing with. Not because you don't trust them, because paper is what protects the love when the money gets big. And the bigger lesson, the one this entire channel is built on. He didn't own his masters. And when you do not own your work, somebody else decides when you eat, when you sleep, when you release, when you live. Wayne was grown. He was an iconic generational artist who couldn't drop his own album. This is not a talent problem. It's an ownership problem. And it can happen to anybody who signs before they read what they're signing. Now, here is how it ends. And this is the part that turns a sad story into a blueprint. It's 2018. The pressure is finally too much. Universal Music Group, the giant sitting on top of it all, steps in and settles everything. They pay Wayne well over $10 million, and reports say that the real figure that he was owed was closer to $25 million. They cut him loose from Cash Money completely, and as part of the deal, they finally have to release The Carter. The album drops in September 2018. It's number one of his biggest first weeks of his entire career. The people never stopped waiting. But here is the part that most folks miss. When the dust settled, Wayne walked away owning his own catalog, Drake's early masters, Nicki's early masters, and his own stuff. The crown jewel of a whole era of music belonged to him. And then in 2020, Lil Wayne sells that catalog to Universal for over $100 million. Read that again, $100 million. The kid who couldn't get a fair check out of his own label turned around and sold that label's most valuable music for 9 figures because he finally owned it. The nuance, the real lesson. Now some of you are yelling at the screen right now. Own your masters. Own your masters, Wayne. Why did you sell them? And I hear you, but you are missing the game. The win was never about holding them forever. The win was that he owned them. So he decided. When Birdman was in control, Wayne owned nothing, and somebody else made every single decision about his life and his art. The moment Wayne owned it, that $100 million decision was his to make, nobody else's. That is what ownership actually is. It is not about keeping everything forever. It's about being the one who chooses. Ownership is control, and control is the only freedom in this business, or I like to call it this game. And here's the part that stays with me. After all of it, the lawsuits, the money, the silent, Birdman got on the stage at Wayne's own festival in New Orleans in front of Wayne's own people. And he apologized out loud, very loud. And they hugged it out, the father and the son. It was beautiful. But do not miss what it cost to get there. It took a $51 million lawsuit to make that apology happen. The love was real the whole time. The love was never the problem. The paper was the problem. Handle the paper, and you get to keep the love. So what's the lesson for you? The artist, the entrepreneur, the person out here building something real with people you love and trust, and you say they got your back. Get it in writing. Family and business are two different things, and the fastest way to lose the family is to skip the paperwork. If you love somebody, you put it on paper, because the paper is what saves the relationship when money gets big enough to test it. Loyalty is beautiful, but loyalty is not a contract. Talent will build the empire. Ownership decides who gets to keep it. Do not be the person who builds the whole house and does not own a single brick. Own your work, control your catalog, and never let the person signing your check be the only one in the room who knows what you are really worth. Many people get put on. Very few ever get to own it. I am Roget Romain. This is Street Smart Business, where you learn the game before the mistakes cost you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to create real content, not AI content. Let's talk about it. I'll see you in the next episode.